Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Good evening and welcome to All for United, and this is the Reds Weekly catch-up, I suppose, if you like to call the show. It's the first time I'm hosting it. There's no Connor tonight, unfortunately. Hope you get well soon, buddy. But I've got two great guests with me today. Anyway, Andrew, how are you, my friend?
All good, thank you.
And John, how are you, my friend?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Absolute pleasure. Listen, we're going to obviously cover every topic of United at the minute, what's going on in terms of all the teams under the United umbrella. The under-18s drew 1-1 at the weekend with Borough. Sort of leaves them roughly about the same place, about fourth or fifth in the table. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it was. But then again, they've got 3 games in hand on most of the teams at the top there. But as I was saying backstage to Andrew, them 3 games now, we win that without another team playing. We've got Liverpool in second, but everybody's miles behind Man City. That seems to be ripping the under-18 league up at the minute. We'll be about 9-10 points behind them still. So that's the state of the 18s. The 23s currently are playing. And the last time I was looking, they were losing 3-2 to Leicester. A team that we beat 1-0 not so long ago in the 23s. Bit of a disappointment, that really, because Leicester are not really a renowned big under 23 side. They're not anywhere near United in the league table for that one. But unfortunately, it's not going our way so far tonight. But of course, we've got a game against Chelsea at Old Trafford for the under 23s on Friday, which I'll get into with these boys. But first and foremost, boys, I'm going to come quickly round here. I'm going to start with Andrew. For academy football, do the results matter to you? Because I see a lot on social media that people are saying, "Oh, the first team are not doing well. That the academy sides are either losing or struggling a little bit. It's not good enough, etc., etc." Let's just not forget, though, a lot of them are playing. A lot of these lads are playing above their age group as well. So a lot of them. For example, like Garnacho, who's played for the 23s tonight, he's under. He usually would qualify for under 18, so he's playing well above his age group at the age of 17, playing in the under 23s. So, do the results all matter? Do you think when it comes to academy football?
Not necessarily. I think it's more about the development of the players, because you want those players to, progress in their careers, and obviously they want to work their way up to the first team. So. Obviously, the players like to win games, and obviously, they like the Youth Cup and the respective leagues for their ages as well. So, but I think it's more about their development. You want to see those players like Garnacho coming through as well, and like Hannibal and like Charles Shortire as well. It's just like that's what United is built on, that youth systems. Like we're the ones that can produce like some of the best youth players, even if some that will come through in the first team, but also those that go on to other clubs and have good careers as well. So I say it's more about the development of the players rather than results. I'd say that age, you sort of don't want to put too much pressure on them and say, like, we've got to be winning all. Say you can't win every game. So, but I think it's what they, even when they're winning, or even if they've suffered defeat, it's what they learn in those games about as a team, but also as their own selves as well, what they can do better or where they can improve their games as well. So I'd say more about development that those in those age brackets.
Absolutely, John. Did you share the same sentiment there? Is it all about developing our next youngsters, our next batch to come through, or are results important? To get every team used to winning the games of football. At various different age groups, because as I said, the mass meltdown on social media at times, and at times when you speak to people away from social media, all the youth teams are not doing very well. Yes, we're in the FA Youth Cup final. but they just drew 1-1 to Borough. That's a bit of a disappointing result. Or the 23s tonight, currently, last time I've looked, as I said, losing 3-2 to Leicester, and their results always dip in and out, up and down. Do you think it's all about the players, the way they develop and the way they progress, or do you think results also have to have an equal share and equal importance?
Oh yeah, but I think no matter what level of sport you're at, you build confidence through winning games and that, and you mentioned about getting to Youth Cup final. We all know about the history and the importance of getting to the Youth Cup final. Us being Manchester United fans, of course, we won the first 5 under the Busby Babes, and that cost a 92, and it's the first time that we've got there in a decade. So yes, of course, it is important to win and to compete and that, because you want to and I agree with Andrew's point. It is mainly about developing youngsters to come through to the first team, or even to move them to elsewhere, whether that's another team in the Premier League or Championship. That players' development is important, and identifying the young players for the future, and when they have a chance to compete and that and thing. But yeah, I do think no matter what happens, results in football are always important, and you want to be competing, because and I think also you got to try and introduce for players who have a chance of getting into the first team. You look at the successful teams of recent years like City, Liverpool, Chelsea, they have relatively strong youth setups, and with like when Klopp makes a number of changes to his Liverpool team, you got Curtis Jones comes through, and he plays in a position, and then they're not out of system, and this is why another factor in like if we get Ten Hag in as the new manager, he'll try and introduce a playing style which all the youngsters can get used to and bring it to the first team, so that if they do come through to the first team, they know exactly what their role is. And I think it is important. Development results are important, but it's also about trying to get a playing style which everyone buys into. And it's important.
Just a quick point just to put in as well, because we are talking about academy. I think hopefully this is right. I've just picked up on Twitter there that Nottingham Forest have beaten Chelsea 2-1 tonight to go into the FA Youth Cup final at Old Trafford against United. So it'd be Nottingham Forest that we're facing in the Youth Cup final. Andrew, just a quick point on that. Are you more confident that we're facing maybe a Nottingham Forest side instead of a Chelsea side in the FA Youth Cup final?
So probably a little bit more confident, but I'd say wouldn't underestimate Forest. They have just beaten Chelsea. So Chelsea, I say, I've known for developing young players, but how many you've seen in the team the last 5 or 10 years? I know more recently you've seen a few come through, but I say I would like to see United. Hopefully, we'll be lifting that trophy against Forest. I say a bit more confident, but don't underestimate Forest. We've just got to be very aware of what they're capable of.
Yeah, John, Chelsea have won this trophy quite a number of times over the recent years. I think that they're only one behind Manchester United in terms of the all-time winners of this of the FA Youth Cup competition. Is that a big scalp, do you think, for Forest there? And do you think that United now, going into the FA Youth Cup final, hopefully it'll be confirmed when it's going to be played quite soonish? I think it's being penciled for the 30th of April at Old Trafford, which is a Saturday, which would be good if that does go ahead on that day. But do you think that sort of maybe buoys up Nottingham Forest a little bit there, and United may have to sort of look over their shoulder there, because that's a big scalp for Forest at Chelsea tonight?
Oh yeah, you got to give Forest their due respect. To beat Chelsea, have been probably the best youth team in recent years, and for Chelsea to be one behind us, if we had faced Chelsea, if they beat us, it wouldn't have been a good look on our part if they went level with us. But as it turns out now that we're in the final, hopefully we can go 2 ahead of them. Hopefully now, but yeah, it is a massive scalp for Forest. It's brilliant achievement and fair play to them. And but the advantage is we are at Old Trafford and that, but you've got to respect Forest, and to beat Chelsea is an achievement. And but hopefully we can bring back the Youth Cup for the first time in a decade, which will be good, because ultimately we do pride ourselves on being the best club in England for developing youngsters, and there's no team that has a better youth history than our club, thinking of the players we produced. But yeah, it'll be a good final, I'm sure, but hopefully we'll bring it home.
Absolutely, I hope so. And Andrew, just to end on the academy point, what if United go on and do win the FA Youth Cup? Is that a trophy that we should be happy about as United fans? Yes, it's not a Premier League, it's not an FA Cup, it's not a Champions League, but in terms of how important our history is with the development of youth, and our unique history with this FA Youth Cup, as John pointed out, we were the only team to win it for the first 5 years of its inception. So, and of course with the Bubsy Babes, the class of '92, and all the other various teams that have won it in the past as well, and the various players that have come out off that stage of winning that trophy. Do you think it's still a major trophy? Is it terms to be proud of as a United fan?
I think it is, and especially for the players as well. They'll be wanting to win that trophy as well, and just to show the coaches and those coaches within the first team, look, I'm here. I'm wanting to step up now. So I think, yeah, it's definitely a trophy we definitely love winning, and say it's a part of our history and DNA. Like as you said, the Busby Babes and the class of '92. It's like those players that are going to be in the FA Youth Cup final. They'll want to emulate those previous players, and like can be saying, if we do win that game and lift the trophy, they're going to say, well, we're a part of that history now. So yeah, of course, it's an importance for the players, but also for us fans. Just obviously, as I said earlier, the development of the younger players as well, and seeing them, hopefully some of them break through into the first team, whether they might see something before the end of the season, or maybe going into the next season, and depending on who the manager is going to be and what their ideas are going to be for some of the younger players. So it's all interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, that is official, by the way, that Nottingham Forest are in. I've been on Forest's Twitter to make sure. But it is official. It is Nottingham Forest on Old Trafford against Manchester United in the FA Youth Cup final. As I said, I think the date on the FA's website is penciling as the 30th of April. But it might change that, which is a Saturday, which would be great if it still remains that date. But I'm sure that United and Nottingham Forest will come together, decide a date and time, and then hopefully that'll be announced soonish, and then we'll bring that to you as soon as it's announced. And hopefully we get a really decent attendance going there. It's no longer a two-legged final, it is just a one-leg final now. So to have it at Old Trafford, to have home advantage, hopefully we could bring that trophy home. Speaking of home advantage, unfortunately it didn't really go our way on Saturday. Home advantage, really. I've heard a lot of talk, John, about this, about the performance feeling a lot like a pre-season game. It wasn't very good to watch. It was very sluggish, very boring. What did you make of Saturday's performance, first and foremost?
It was very lethargic, and I think very. I mean, there's been some reports today about whether the players have stopped playing for Rangnick and that. I just think a lot of the players just look as though they don't have a clue what they're doing. Like they're just like they're not playing as a team. There were times where I was watching in the first half, and you think your midfield players, you have Fred and McTominay, and you have Pogba and Bruno. It's like it was almost like two different teams at times of the first half, because you had the back four, you had McTominay, Fred in front, and then it must have been at least 20, maybe even more yards further up, and you had Pogba up with Bruno, Elanga, and who else? Sancho, and basically it's just like two completely different teams there. I don't think there's a lot of function. I think obviously Fred got all the plaudits, and he was probably the only one who tried to bridge the gaps and all that. And he played very well for his 100th game for United. So he's probably United's most improved player, under Rangnick and this season. But they just don't look like a team, when you can't. There was no fight, like top four was still up for grabs, when it's like the last, when you equalise, you have to go on and win that game ugly. Like you have an outside chance of getting the top four, you have to win your games. And yet Leicester were the better team after that. Yeah, and it just looks as though the team they've given up almost, and I just can't see how we can get out of it. We might win the odd few games between now and the end of the season, but it's you can almost write off this season now. I think you pretty much can. There's no way we're getting top four now, in spite of Palace being 2-0 up at half time. But there's no cohesion whatsoever.
Andrew, even as John alluded to there, that Palace have beaten Arsenal 2-0 at this moment in time. Does that give you a little bit of a fresher hope that maybe we can still challenge for top four, or is the drop points from ourselves this weekend, the 2 drop points, is that now the final nail in the coffin for top four?
After Saturday, I thought it's completely out of our grasp. But then tonight, Palace is sort of doing us a favour. I'm just like, a little bit of hope is coming back. But in terms of the Leicester game, United knew going into it, well, we really had to win just to keep those Champions League hopes alive. And I mean, it felt like a team that didn't start like that with that in mind. And I mean, it was almost like, it's like getting towards the end of the season and the players are on the beach, and it's like, yeah, we're just playing for nothing here. And I'm like, it almost like it's all very flat from the United players. I don't know whether you might agree or not, Benny. The atmosphere inside Old Trafford, it just seemed, from the fans' point, it just seemed flat from our side as well. It's like the United weren't giving us anything, to get us going. And I'm like, and it's just like, and obviously Rangnick, he tinkered with the team because Ronaldo pulled out due to illness, and he used the same formation he used in the Manchester derby with the 2 false nines, but it sort of didn't work because Bruno at points, I saw him. He was up front. Then he was on the left of the attacking three. Then he was at some points he was helping back more deeper in the defence. I'm like, but when we were on the attack, it was like, I think Pogba, he was looking to like put balls through, but then there was no one there in the middle. It was like, well, where am I going to turn to? I can't do nothing. And I just think, what does, with Ronaldo being out through illness, what does that say to Marcus Rashford as well? Because I thought he might have just started, giving him his chance, but it's just like we seem to lack that focal point in the attack as well. And I thought, obviously, when Rashford came on, you say the only real good, the good point where he had was where he went past those 3 players, but unfortunately, Elanga just nicked the ball off him. I don't know whether Elanga thought he wasn't offside, but it was just like, because Rashford at the moment, he's just like, he's been trying to take players on, and he's never got past the first man. That was the first time in ages he got past 1. It was like he went past 3, and I'm like, I just think, what message has been sent to Rashford over that? I think with some players, you have to, when you've been out of form, you sort of have to play your way back into form as well. But I just think, well, obviously, when Leicester scored, and like I say, we seem to like, United players seem to find some energy, and then we got back in, but then we sort of got let off the hook by the VAR intervention. So it was just like, and was relying on David De Gea as well with another outstanding save. It's just like, I think Gary Neville said it after the game. We're not angry anymore. We're just disappointed. So it's just like, we almost want the season just to stop right now. And then, I don't know about top. I just, if Palace do, beat Arsenal, I'm just retaining a little hope, but it's down to us. We've just got to, can we win the next 8 games left? I'm just thinking who we've got to come as well. Liverpool away, Arsenal away, Chelsea at home. It's like big games, but I don't know. It's out of our hands. Well, I think.
Yeah, I just want to get your atmosphere point in a minute, but just go off on a tangent again because I have just seen that Manchester United tweeted out that obviously that the FA Youth Cup final, the exact date of kickoff will be communicated as soon as possible, but the tickets are going on sale tomorrow. £1 with all proceeds going. It'll cost you £1 with all proceeds going to the Manchester United Foundation. Let's try and sell it all out. That's all I'm going to say. Let's get a good attendance there. Let's get right behind the boys and possibly the only trophy that any United side is going to bring home this season. So let's get right behind the boys. Anyway, back to the point about the atmosphere at Old Trafford on Saturday. Is that been building to that? Because I've noticed that the atmosphere, even at away games, has been on a bit of a lull for quite a few number of weeks now. And is that the poorest atmosphere that you've heard at Old Trafford for both of you? I'll go with John first and foremost.
Yeah, it did seem flat on Saturday. I think because I think people, obviously, when you think back to what the atmosphere was like at the start of the season, like the Leeds game, Varane signing, and some of the games in the Champions League, like Villarreal and all that, and the crowd was really buzzing and that. But yeah, it's. The performances have been appalling, and I just think people just had enough. I think we've almost it's unrecognisable, the team compared to what it was at the start of the season. I just think that the players have to look at themselves. They really do. I feel sorry for it. I mean, our good friend Neil put in the comments. I do agree the interim manager hasn't helped, but that doesn't excuse the players that they've completely lost the plot this season, and I think a lot of those players, their time might be up. We know that, and it doesn't set the right example. Like you think on Saturday that Pogba on the international break, for example, saying the season's dead, not competing for trophies. He's probably going to go in the summer, and you're picking him again. He doesn't care if we get in the top 4 or not, because he's most likely not going to be here next year, is he? So I just think the players lack desire, they lack hunger, and I think it's finally beginning to rub off on the fans. I think the fans have had enough now. We're just turning up just for pride, really, I think, and the Stretford End will continue to sing, I'm sure, but I think everybody, like Andrew says, I just think if we could end the season now, we would, because I don't think we're getting top 4, and, we might even have a battle to get into Europe full stop this season, so, it's... but hopefully we can. I mean, I, for one, hope we do play in Europe next year, whether that's Europa League or Champions League. Obviously, you prefer Champions League, but, the Europa League is our level, I think. So, hopefully we get the new manager, and then it'll take time to rebuild from this. It won't happen immediately.
Absolutely. Andrew, On European football, though, I've seen all his arguments. We see it on the WhatsApp groups. I've seen it on Twitter and anything. If we don't get Champions League football, people are saying, "Oh, I hope we finish outside the European places." I don't. If there's no Champions League, I don't want European football. But surely, we from the past, when no English team was able to, obviously, to play in Europe because of Liverpool fans, and then was banned for quite a several number of years, and then who could forget the great night for us old enough at Rotterdam in 1991 when we beat Barcelona in the Cup Winners' Cup, the Europa League final win in 2017. The people might say, "Oh, this is a second-rate European competition," but from a fan's point of view, from someone like myself that has been to several European aways in the past, have been to European finals and everything, some of the best European aways have been to the teams that you never played before, to countries you've never been to before. It's been a right laugh. Are you with the people that are saying, if we don't get Champions League, I don't want any European football? It might do as well for a season not to have European football, or does any sort of European football matter to you? Do you know what I mean? Even if it is the Europa Conference, whatever it's called, the UEFA Europa Cup, I don't know what that thing's called, but would you be happy to see United play in that? What's your feelings on European football? Is it Champions League or nothing for you?
It's a tough one. I mean, like I said, we haven't got a God-given right to be in the Champions League. We have to earn it, and I'm like, I just think for United, that's where we should be at the level we can be competing at. I know we're not there at the moment. It's just, I think, obviously this season's like literally, the rest of the season is now a write-off. And I mean, yes, the Europa League is still a trophy, and it's the last European trophy we won back in 2017 when we completed the whole lot, as we like to sing. We won the lot, and it's just. And with that trophy as well, we have to. I know there's like more games involved. I think it's about 15 games you have to win that trophy, and I just think it's going to be it's going to be a real challenge. Like playing like twice a week, because it's going to be Thursday and Sundays, and I just think we could be like away on the Thursday night and we're going away on Sunday. It's going to be a real. You can see with like other teams, it's been a real challenge for them to and sometimes it can be a benefit of being out of Europe. I would say in the case of like Arsenal, I'm just thinking, okay, it's not going well for them tonight, but I'm just thinking they seem to have, they didn't have the best start to the season, and then they seem to have just hit their stride, and then they are pushing with that top four alongside Spurs. So it's just I'm in a tough one. Yes, it's nice to see European teams come to Old Trafford. I just never not been quite a big fan of the Thursday, Sunday games. But if we are in Europe, then so be it. But I just think we need to be. We're Man United. We have to be aiming towards that Champions League. But I say, we've had the choice between the Europa League and the Conference League, or whatever they want to call it. I think I would take the Europa League. So, and plus some good teams have been in the Europa League over the last few seasons, like Seville. Even this season with Barcelona. So we could depends who finishes in the other European leagues, who we could be potentially facing if we did land up in the Europa League. But we'll just have to see come the end of the season which place we finish in the league.
Absolutely. And just going to come to Neil's comment. I hope you're doing well, Neil. Thanks for watching, pal. Love your passion, Benny. I feel you have rose-tinted specs on. No Euro football might be a blessing. John, on that, I want to get your views on this as well about European football. Are you one of those that is Champions League or nothing, or do you enjoy the European games at the Europa League? Do you enjoy watching the Europa League? Because sometimes the Champions League is very. I speak to some fans. Some people are fed up with the Champions League, thinking it's quite boring. It's seeded to try and keep the big teams away from each other to the latter stages. Whereas, for me, the one way I'd improve the Champions League is get rid of all the groups and go straight out, like that, a bit like the FA Cup, go straight out, knockout competition, no seeding. If we get Real Madrid, we get Real Madrid. You have to be the best of Europe. We've got to beat the best of Europe. But of course, that's never going to happen. Yeah. But where do you sit on this whole debate with if we don't get Champions League, we don't want European football, or would you like to see some form of European football?
I would always want to see some kind of European football. I remember the first season we had on the Van Gaal when we didn't have any European football, and it was the midweeks felt lonely without it. And yes, you don't want to play on a Thursday night, of course you don't. But, I remember when we won in 2017, I actually enjoyed that run to the final. And I just remember, I mean, it was the last trophy we won, wasn't it? And I think that final in, where was it now? Stockholm, wasn't
Stockholm,
it?
yeah.
And I think it was, because I remember, I think it was 2 days after, the arena attack.
Yeah, that's right.
I felt, like when we won that, we really felt like pride we did it for Manchester kind of thing and that. And I thought, yeah, I do. I enjoy European nights, and you much rather be in the Champions League, of course. But I think the problem is, I don't think we're good enough for the Champions League. Let's be frank, and it's sad to admit it. What will we achieve in the Champions League next year? Nothing. Whereas if you go into the Europa League, you have a chance of winning it. And I personally think United will have a chance of winning it, and we've not won a trophy for 5 years, have we? And then if we do win it next year, then we're into the Champions League the following year, and hopefully we'll be in a better place then. So I just think that, you will remember, and you mentioned Rotterdam were great. And the other thing about Europa League is that, you don't go to always the traditional big teams, let's say, but you do go to some cities or towns in Europe, which tend to be cheaper to go to as well. And I know stories about some United fans, they'd say some of their favourite away trips were visiting small towns in Europe, like in 91 we played like Montpellier in France, that kind of thing. So for me, I can see why some people say like, oh, clean slate, let's be out of Europe, do a proper rebuild and that. But for my personal opinion, I would always prefer to see some kind of European football, even if it's not the Champions League.
I was going to say, if I can just
Of course, Andrew, yeah.
add on that, I'm just thinking, say, we did finish 8th and no European football. I mean, I just think a more condensed, campaign next season will just allow extra rest between league games and more added focus as well. I mean, it gives that extra time on the training ground that would be crucial for the new United manager, whoever that may be, Ten Hag, Pochettino, or somebody left of field. I mean, you think of playing twice a week, Thursday, Sundays, there's not much time to work on like the fundamentals. And I mean, like if it was to finish 7th, worst case, it'd be Europa Conference League. I mean, if we was to go in that, they'd probably make us one of the favourites to win it. And I mean, if we were not to win it and failed to win it, it'd like be even worse because was like sort of mocked and saying, "Oh, you can't even you've slipped into the Conference League and you can't even win that." And like, we're sort of on a hide into nothing if we're in the Conference League. It's like we'll be expected to win, but if we don't, we'll be derided for it.
You can't ignore the World Cup either.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. The World Cup. Yeah, we didn't think that, did we? Really, in our thinking. But also to end this debate as well on the Europe Champions League or bust or no European football and stuff like that. To attract the players that we want to maybe attract in the summer, does some sort of, even if we don't get Champions League football, we don't finish the top 4, but some sort of European football like the Europa League, the Europa Conference League, whatever it's called, the other competition, will that still enable us to attract the players that we want to attract in the summer, or would having no European football maybe affect that a little bit, and then the players might go, well, you've got no European football at all. Maybe there's not going to be much game time as well to impress because you're in one less competition. I mean, Andrew, what do you think, mate? Do you think it's important to have some sort of European football for our recruitment in the summer?
Maybe for some players, it might be I don't want to say the be all and end all, but I'm just thinking. I'm going to say, I think a few years ago, it might be several years ago, Liverpool's manager Jurgen Klopp, I think he said, "Oh, if we're not in Champions, if a player only wants to come here and play Champions, or if we're not in Champions League football, and players are only coming here for that, I don't want them here." I just think these players we need to get in, or even the ones we promote. I think Radnick said it. I think it was the other day. We need young, hungry players. That's the ones that are going to strive for that success, whether we are in Europe or not. I always think the bread and butter of United first is the league. That's, I think Fergie once said it. He said, "Well, win the league, and that's our route into Europe." I know you can get through now through second, third, and fourth, but the bread and butter is the league, and I just think that's where I don't know. Maybe United need to just focus on building that first. Being more competitive in the league. Okay, last season we finished second as well, but I'm just like, we wasn't able to build on it this season. But I just think that's where we need to focus first, and then to Europe, and then to start winning trophies and making the progress. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, just the way United at the moment, you're just like, we like to do everything the hard way. It's never the easy way with us. So just you have to see what goes down in the next few weeks and over the next couple of months, and then into the next season.
John, your thoughts on that? Especially maybe the caliber of players that if it is Ten Hag that is to come in, that he may want to bring in the summer. Do you think if we missed out on European football entirely, do you think players will still come? Do you think that the Manchester United name alone still attracts players, or is it all now? Do you think when you're trying to attract the top caliber of players, that a team has to be in European football?
Well, I think it'll be interesting because obviously if we do get Ten Hag, that does show some kind of progression in terms of like you're looking to build a team from youth and all that. And I think I think Gary Neville said it a while back that if you only want to sign for United because they're in Champions League, you're not right. And I think, yeah, I do. But I think because we've been doing bad transfers for a very long time, we've been trying to attract the megastar when really you need to buy decent players with potential and that kind of thing. Like, for example, there's some reports that if Ten Hag does come in, he might be interested in bringing in a couple of Ajax players with him, that kind of thing. And you got to build a team. And I do think that, it might affect us getting a couple of players, maybe if we're outside of Europe or the Champions League. But to me, you should look at trying to build a team anyway. And to me, it's hopefully you won't be out of it more than one season, hopefully. And I think if you have an idea and inspiration, like for example, when Klopp joined Liverpool, Mo Salah was signed for them when they were out of Europe, for example. Now, Mane might have been as well, I can't remember. But yeah, and you can buy players when you're not in Europe or you're not in the elite competition, because I think if you buy a youngster or young player with potential who comes to United and say, I want to be part of this rebuild on the, Ten Hag, let's say, then that's what you got to build towards, and not these superstars and everything. So it's, you got to be smart and savvy, and I do think you can build from it that way, and you got to buy team players who will help you improve. And I think only time will tell, but I do think you can still do business if you're not in the elite competition.
Absolutely, but I suppose also money talks, and we know what United like when it comes to paying astronomical wages to players as well. So, but I hope that we go about our business summer in the correct way, and and hopefully we'll sort of bring down the wage bill a little bit. You know, I know you're going to always, your top stars always command the top money, but I think some of the wages that some of them are on is absolutely ridiculous. You know, we managed to sign Bruno on a relatively decent-ish, lowish wage. You know, I know he's gone up now since he signed his new contract, but you know, it can be, it can show that you know you can negotiate and bring in top quality footballers. But sometimes less money than you're paying them. Then we've been paying so-called top players in the past, and they've all just flopped out basically. But yeah, it'd be interesting. Speaking of Champions League football, there is a team that can still and are in a really good position still to get Champions League football, and that's the women's side. We're 1-0 against Brighton at the weekend at Leeds Sports Village. Again, probably not the best match you'll ever watch in your life, Andrew, but what did you make of that performance on Sunday?
I'd say it was definitely a tough game against Brighton, and I think it was pretty much like in the away game when we went down there. They made it tough for us, and we had to, work hard to break them down. I think Brighton, they set up like in a 4-5-1 system with, they knew they weren't going to have much of the ball and sought to squeeze, the space in the midfield, and so it's preventing the likes of Toon, Jackie and Katie as well, trying to get those passes in between the lines. And I mean, I think we were just limited in the first half, like counters or even breakaways. And there was that opportunity in the first half, Ella Toon, where she just broke clear, and we thought we're going to be 1-0 up and she was going to, cap a 100th appearance for the United women's team with a goal. But I just think second half, I mean, the space, as Brian, got more tired, the space became a little more available, and obviously Skinner made those substitutions as well. And obviously the breakthrough came through earlier. Galton, and say it's luckily the goalkeeper didn't put both hands on it; it just went underneath him. So thank God it did. So I think, but also defensively as well, because that last 10 minutes, Brighton thought, well, we've got to go for this now, and they started to put a lot of pressure on us, and like our defense just managed to hold up. And I think there was a corner right near the end. I don't know if it was in injury time or just before the 90 minutes. And I thought, are we going to get caught out here again and then just concede? But luckily, I can't remember if Mary punched the ball or one of the players had headed it away. But luckily, we just managed to see it out in the end. But yeah, it was definitely a tough game. I think maybe we just needed that game where we just won 1-0. Other teams we've beaten like 3-4-0, or ones where we've been a goal up. We've like the West Ham away game where we've conceded late on. So I think for those players, it's like they can put that down to their experience now. Like say we can win a game 1-0, and say going into the last remaining games, like I say, it's good we've slightly got that goal difference back up, and we're just hoping the City don't score too many goals against the other teams, or Leicester, Birmingham, or even their last game, Reading away. Somebody can spring a surprise on them, and we can be celebrating away at Chelsea for Champions League football.
I really hope so. On the performance, John, though, did you think that the effect of playing at Old Trafford the week before, obviously last week we played at Old Trafford, did you, because it's a bigger pitch, it's more energies happen on the legs, the girls might not be used to that as much. Do you think that had some sort of a saying in how we played as well? Because we didn't play our usual sort of fluid football. We weren't as quick in the going through the phases in the game. Did you think that Old Trafford game maybe had a little effect on proceedings?
Potentially. I mean, of course, there was a week between both games, wasn't there? So I think it might well have done. We certainly weren't on our fluid selves. It was quite, we did have a couple of chances like Ellen in the first half, and Martha had a big chance in the second half, and ideally you would have liked to 1-2 or 3-0 with the goal difference. But I think at this stage in the season, players do tend to get tired, don't they? And at the end of the day, it's the results is all that matters. You have to make sure that you win your games, even if you don't play very well. And that's the big compliment you take from the game yesterday, that we did win a game 1-0. Yeah, ideally we would have liked to won games 1-0 before in the season, and yesterday we would have liked to score more. But I think it does show a degree that we're learning. I think it was around about this time last year where we went to Brighton and lost 1-0, so it does show a degree of progress. I think some of the players weren't great, but having said that, I do think the defence was pretty solid. Lad was very good at centre half, and Marie had a good game as well. I thought Blundell played well as well. I thought she was saying there was good link-up play on the left-hand side at times. But yeah, all you can say is we got the job done, and let's be clear, it is still in our hands. We are in third place, and the goal difference is only 3, and City have a game in hand. But we're above them at the moment. It's important to remember that we're not chasing them; they're chasing us. So all you can do is do your own job, and if we don't get top 3, then that's it. It's due to us not holding on to games early in the season. It won't be based on goal difference, but we got the win. You move on. Hopefully, we can boost the goal difference next couple of games against West Ham and Villa, or Villa and West Ham.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I know a lot of people were disappointed in the 1-0, the performance, and I sort of caught Martin Ho as I was going home, and he was saying that the coaching staff themselves were a little bit disappointed. But like I pointed out, sometimes when you're not playing well, it's those 1-0s that allow you to take the next step, if you're challenging for the league title and you go on to win that league title. It's those 1-0s you look back on and they go, yeah, we didn't play very well, but that 1-0 helped us achieve our goal. And I was just saying, if this 1-0 ultimately helps us achieve Champions League football, our goal at the end of the season, surely that should be looked on as a positive. No one's going to look back and go, oh, well, we got Champions League football, but we only won 1-0 there. We didn't play really well and all that lot, So, Andrew, do we have to win with style? Do we have to? Because this is another big debate that we had on sort of the women's channel earlier. Was obviously the goal difference might come to effect. We know that City might go on a massive goal scoring spree. I think they've got Leicester next, or whoever they've got next. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But teams where they usually go 1 or 2-0 up. You like your Chelsea's, you like your Arsenal's, and City have done it in the past as well. They go on and batter teams 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-0. Whereas we've never really done that throughout our history. Yes, it's a bit of a short history in the top flight of the women's game at the minute. But do we need to be more ruthless in front of goal? Do we need to start putting teams away, or are you happy to maybe just see those 1-0s that may hopefully then go on? We can achieve Champions League football.
I think it's a bit about, you saying like style of like teams this season. We have literally scored 3, 4, 5 goals, and obviously like Brighton yesterday we only won 1-0, and like the reverse fixture back in December was like 2-0. So Brighton are saying a tough side to beat, and I think you said back at the start of the season we probably. I think because we had literally 5 forwards leave us, and so you would argue would we score enough goals to keep up with those clubs above us as well? But it's not been the case, and I mean we've outscored City so far. Obviously, City have got 1 game in hand over us, but also the front 3 of Russo, Thomas, and Gorton, and Tooney playing the number 10 role. It's just to say it's taking them a while to find their rhythm. And like with Russo, it's like she didn't get her first, I think it was league start until like start of October. And from what I was reading, United did that deliberately because obviously she had that injury and they didn't want to rush her back and then she'd pick up another injury. And you could argue that Bruce is probably the top striker in the WSL and now. And I think going into the Euros in the summer, I'm just thinking, as the England manager, I think Russo might just get ahead of Ellen White and be the one that's starting up front. So I mean, for United, they've had to deal with, the opposition, approaching games with like, different, tactics or ways, and just like Brighton did. And, we've just, I think, what did Skinner say? I think he said we just had to be a bit more, just reminding the players, just be a bit more calmer and just, just to say, just be patient in what you're doing. Just don't try and, trying to keep forcing it is like, it will come. So it's going to be like, I just think we just say in certain games, we're just going to have to be, a little bit more clever and more efficient. There are teams who are going to just, probably, score, 3, 4, 5. And there's those games where probably, the likes of City, Chelsea and Arsenal, where we're going to have to be a bit more, say, maybe play a slightly different way, just outfox the opposition and, try something maybe different and then, catch them out and then, go in future games where we've not won those games against like the top 3 or just drawn them, we can actually, go there and get the win and all 3 points.
Absolutely, John. If we don't achieve Champions League football this season, do you view that as a failure, or do you think that's another stepping stone towards maybe getting it next season? Because obviously, brand new manager this season. We've done very, very well after a bit of a rocky start. He's coming to his own. The team are playing well. The team are bought into his ideas and the way that he wants to play. Would you view that as a failure if we didn't quite get champions in the football this season? If we did, say for example, lose out of goal difference to City?
Yeah, I think because we've been in that position for so long, it would feel like a failure. And you look at City when they had all those injuries at the start of the season, and we were a good few points ahead of them at some point. And I just think it probably would be. But having said that, if we were to achieve it, it would be a brilliant achievement for Skinner in his first season. And I think you can certainly see there's progress, but you just think with City, because they had all those injuries, are we going to get a better chance to do it maybe next year? With Chelsea, Arsenal and City, you can't imagine City will be as bad next season. Chelsea, I'm sure, will still be as strong, and Arsenal, they'll be stronger. But it's certainly a step in the right direction, and that we do look like we're making progress. That's important to say, and I do think if we can somehow get the top 3, it will be a massive, massive achievement. But we just have to make sure that. But yeah, if we do fail, I do think it'll feel a little bit of a failure because we've been in that position for so long. So if we were to get pipped by City, the last on goal difference, now it goes back to the games where hopefully we'll learn. Like maybe yesterday we were learning to keep a 1-0 lead, and it won't be goal difference that decides it. It'll be on the drop points, in games where we didn't hang on. And I think you got to learn from that in the future. If you're 1-0 up, you've got to hang on to that lead going into the last 10 minutes. And but yeah, hopefully we will anyway. And we're still in that position. We would have taken this at the start of the season, so hopefully we can get over the line.
Absolutely, because you think back to last season, we was top of the league at Christmas, and then it all spectacularly fell away under Casey Stoney. So, and obviously everything that went on around Stoney. So I think, Andrew, how would you rate Skinner in his first season? How would you rate Mark? Has he done better than you expected to, or has he done the minimum that you expected? How do you feel about Mark Skinner?
I think. Firstly, when he came, I think in terms of the players, I think they were getting used to his ideas and tactics. And there was, I think, some games where we should have won and we ended up drawing. I just think back to that game we get away at Tottenham where we conceded so late on. It was just like we was all so deflated after that. It was like I just think I think from November, December onwards, it seems. I think Skinner said it. the players are getting now, it seems to be clicking into place, and like we've people are questioning, why is certain players not playing like Vildebro Arisa when everyone's calling saying, she's got to be inside, but it's literally she came here to a new country, say new league. She's like getting used to Skinner's style of playing tactics, and I'm like, the example of Russo, didn't want to rush her back, and then she gets another injury. I know, like with City at the start, they had all their injuries, whereas we sort of had them all now at sort of the wrong time of the season. But in terms of Skinner, I'm trying to think out of 10 for Skinner in his first season.
Wait till the end of the season, Andrew.
Wait till the end of the season. That could be a good point, though, John. That could be a good point.
It's true. I'm just thinking, do I do it? And then we haven't got whether we've got Champions League or not. It's just so obviously we've got Champions League. The score out of 10 would go a bit more, but I say he's done a very good job so far. Like I say, it's going to take time to impose his system, because obviously those players were under Casey before, so they were used to the way she works, and there was like a whole, turnaround. It's like, but yes, for Skinner, I mean, yeah, I think he's done a good job, and just think on John's point, about the Champions. If we didn't get the Champions League, I'd say if we didn't get it, it would be disappointing. But I can see the progress that's been made, and I mean, it'll be interesting to see then what Skinner does in the summer. The players he wants to bring in, and also these contract renewals as well. I'd like to see who he wants to keep as well. I don't know whether with the women's players how crucial Champions League football is for them. I know maybe for some it is, and then or attracting players as well. I just think like for Man City as well, I think the players they were attracting in the summer, they said, we've got Champions League football, but then they went out in the qualifying round, so they had no Champions League football to compete with. So it's like, I just don't know where, with the women's players, is this necessarily the Champions League is the be all and end all? I mean, I don't know. It's just for some players, I say it would be an advantage if we were in it, but I don't know. I think it's I like to feel it's like the club as a whole, how we've, sold it to them, saying if you come here, we'll, you progress you as a player. We're definitely looking to win trophies. So it's just, yeah, I say he's doing a good job. So I'm hoping come the end of the season, I'm sure he said he'll be jumping in with all us like if he gets the Champions League. So we might be all celebrating with him.
Absolutely. John, just to end on you, my friend. I know time's ticking on us. Just ending on you. What's your thoughts on Mark Skinner? And also, obviously, under Casey, we had this 5-year challenge. In 5 years, we're going to be a Champions League side. Hopefully, win a trophy or two. We've not won a trophy yet. We're not quite got Champions League football yet, but we're in the running. Obviously, it's Skinner's first season. If it's to attain Champions League football this season, did you think a minimum next season is to win a trophy for him? And likewise, I'll bring it back. If we don't get Champions League football this season, does he have to win a trophy and gain Champions League football, or will Champions League football gain a Champions League football maybe next season? Would you view that as a stepping stone and maybe a little bit of success, if you will, under Skinner? But do we have to win a trophy now as a team, as a football club? Because we've been in this ride now for a few years now. We've been in the WSL for a few years now, and we've got our feet on the table. We've had a couple of fourth place finishes. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Champions League for a place this season, finish third. Progression again. But when's the right time, basically, for Skinner to start? Before we start going, Skinner, you really need to win a trophy. Is it next season? Is it the season after? What's your feeling?
I think it definitely depends on. Yeah, you definitely have to push it, because if you do get in the top three, you do expect to come. If you don't win a trophy, at least come close in one. Like, can you even get to a final, for example? That will be a big achievement. And I think, and if you don't get the Champions League this year, then yes, you do have to look at, like, he'll I know he had last summer, but he came in like late, didn't he? And he didn't quite get all the players that he wanted. So I think this summer is about building a team. And yes, you have to be closing that gap, and you have to show that you learn the lessons from this season. If you don't get in the top of the line, you've got to learn to hold on to what games. Can you go away to places like ours? I know we drew at Arsenal, but I'm also beat them in the Conti Cup. But you got to make sure that you have a chance of winning these big games as well, against your Chelseas, against your Cities, against your Arsenals. Can you go away to their place and win? That's another test that you look at. You got to demonstrate that you're closing the gap. But yes, I think if we do get in the top three, I do think you got to try and win something next year, or at least try and get to a final. If you get to a final, anything can happen in the final, but you've got to show that progress. If you don't get it, then next season I would be looking at, yes, you got to either get top three or a trophy. I think that's what I would expect next year. So, but as for this season, I do think he's done relatively well. It's important to stress that he came in went under a bit of cloud. Obviously, like you mentioned, we capitulated second half of the season. We had a lot of injuries, a lot of players left. There were questions about the facilities and all that, and he has, in fairness, been brought a degree of stability. And like I say, we would have taken this position at the start of the season. So far, so good. But can we finish the job? That's the important question.
Absolutely. And to be fair, listen, Skinner did it time, and I think he's coming to his own now. I think everybody, and I said this to Martin Ho yesterday, under Casey, it's always pretty regimented. It's Casey's way, and I've said it all the time. It's Casey's way, or it's the highway, basically. Whereas I think Mark's a lot more. He's a lot more willing to listen to his coaches, to listen to maybe listen to his players, and take on board altogether and decide together. Because I've noticed how at the start of the season it was always Mark on the sidelines, and now he's now taking a step back. He's now sitting there. Martin Ho's now dictating from the sidelines. And it's good that he's brought in people like Charlotte Healy as well. So she wasn't really brought in on a first team match day by Casey Stoney. You might see her there every now and then, but she's there now every week on the bench, giving her point of view as well to Mark Skinner. So it's a testament to him as well that he trusts the people around him. I think he's got a good coaching team in place as well. Whereas Casey, unfortunately for her, whether it was down to her choice, whether it was a club thing. She didn't really have that coaching team, especially after what's his name, Willie Kirk left us, unfortunately. To take the Everton job. That obviously she was relying on just Ian Wilcock and Glenn Harris, unfortunately. But it now seems that the club have backed Skinner to a great degree. He's got his own coaching staff in. It's a quality coaching setup, I think. Probably one of the best in the league, let's be fair. I'm not saying that with red tinted spectacles on. I think there's a proper decent coaching side there, coaching team that he's got there. So let's hope that we get Champions League football. Let's hope that maybe next season we could even win a trophy, progress more under Skinner. But it's certainly come a long way from the first few games of the season, and maybe even before the Christmas break when people were questioning whether he's the right man for the job. But I certainly think he's done a terrific job. The coaching staff have done a terrific job, and the players themselves are bought into and invested in Matt Skinner's ideas and the way he wants to play. And I think Matt Skinner himself and the coaching staff invested in the way that the girls want to play in that. So it's all good. It's all looking a little bit more rosy on the women's side compared to the men's side, which is always good. And obviously, the women's have won the under 21 trophy as well, cup final trophy. So hopefully, our under 18s can go on and win the FA Youth Cup at Old Trafford once again. Before I end this, I will repeat that Manchester United will be playing Nottingham Forest at Old Trafford date and time of kickoff to be confirmed. The FA, as I said, have it on their website as the 30th of April, which is a Saturday. But obviously, it can always change. I think both teams have got to agree on the date and time. Tickets are going to cost £1. They'll go on sale tomorrow, but that £1 does go to the Manchester United Foundation, so they are donating it to charity, to their charity organisation. So let's hopefully pack out Old Trafford, get as many people down there as possible. It is the final, so I know for a fact that there is no capped attendances on this, whereas I know they've capped it below 10,000 for all the games anyway, because then anything over 10,000, I believe they need a police presence, but because it's the final, I think it's just going to be as many as they can sell. So let's back out Old Trafford. As I said, date to be confirmed, date and time to be confirmed, but I'm sure we'll bring that to you as soon as we know that. But my thank you tonight to Andrew, to John. I shan't keep you much longer. I've got work to get to in a few hours' time as well. Joe's a working night, and we shall see you all on the next one. And hope you have a good night. Sorry if anyone I have missed the comments, actually, before I do actually switch off. There is a guy called Dean Smith in here. I've not been ignoring you, Dean. I was going to say at the end. What I will do for my shirt collection is I might take a video of it because it's a big shirt collection, and I'll pop it on my Twitter. You'll see it, BennyMUFC. I'll do it in the next couple of days, pal. If you give us a follow or if you keep an eye on it, mate, I'll post it up. And as for that Rashford shirt, I've grown a little bit since then. I've grown a bit of a tummy. I'm not so sure if that'll fit me wearing it backwards, but what I will do is on the Sunday show, I'm sure it's going ahead this week on Ben's Sunday night show at 10 o'clock. I'll start the show off wearing that backwards if you tune in, pal. How about that? You know, if it fits me, that is. Because I put a bit of weight on, unfortunately. But anyway, we shall end it on that one. Once again, my thanks to everybody in the comments. My thanks to everybody who's tuning in. And my thanks to John and Andrew. And we'll see you in the next one.